Woo! Welcome to Toyota Time with Timmy the Toolman and Sean. Today we are on location in Atlanta, Georgia, and the reason why I'm here is because I'm visiting my buddy Jordan, who was on job assignment in California, but now he's back home in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm paying my buddy a visit. Jordan had an excellent idea and said, hey, what do you think while you're here we shoot a video? And I said, hell yeah, let's shoot a video. He's got a buddy here, his name is Brian, and he met Brian through the T4R.org forum. They have been turning wrenches together, and Brian has a project that we can do pretty easily. The job we are going to do for Brian is the hatch lock mechanism is not working properly. Just like the passenger doors can fail, that little RC motor gets tired, especially when there's some heat on it from the sun. It gets tired and then it doesn't work all the time. And Brian is experiencing that exact same thing. We are going to be doing a little bit of experimenting because we don't know the answer to one main question we have. And that question is the same RC motor for the passenger door is going to be the same RC motor we can swap into the locking mechanism for the hatch? And then it's going to be really simple because all we got to do is crack open the case like we show in the video. If you click on the link above, you can see that video where I swapped out one of my door lock motors on my 98 4runner, and it's going to be pretty simple. We just have to crack open the case with a utility blade, put that RC motor in, glue it back together, or some people use zip ties, plop that actuator back in, and then he's going to now have a hatch lock that works all the time, no matter how hot out it is. If we find that that RC motor isn't the same, then as a backup, Brian brought along a whole actuator assembly. So we're hoping that we can save Brian some money by just swapping out that RC motor, but we're gonna see. So without further ado, we're gonna get started with this job. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the bolt that holds this grab handle in place. So to get to the bolt, we have to remove this little plastic cover, and Brian's gonna remove that plastic cover with a trim removal tool. And you can see the 10mm bolt he's gonna remove right there. And there it's out. So now with the grab strap removed, the rest of the fasteners that hold this hatch trim piece to the actual hatch is plastic clips, and so we just have to overcome those plastic clips. So we're going to get in between the hatch and the trim piece with some trim removal tools, and we're going to start popping those clips free. You might find that as you're prying, you might end up breaking one of those clips. That's pretty common with these older vehicles, but we're going to hope, fingers crossed, that we're not going to break any of them. So here we go. Once you get one side started, you can get your fingers in here and then start working your way along to pull it free. So you don't have to keep on using the trim removal tool. He knocked the whole assembly back towards the interior of the vehicle. It hooks in right underneath here. So as he's knocking it backward, it's freeing the panel from the hatch door, and then he can just drop it down. You could see the clips. And I thought one of them fell out. Yep, one of them fell out, but it didn't break. So you can see all the clips that he had to overcome, and now it's out. That was easy. With the trim piece removed, now we've exposed some things we're going to describe. This box right here is the power window relay assembly. There's 3 plugs that we want to disconnect because this assembly is riveted in place. When we take this panel down by removing all these 10mm bolts, we don't want to be pulling on the wires. So we've got this connection, that connection, and then the one going directly to the box. So for this connector, I can feel that the release mechanism is on the upper side facing the metal. Same with this one, it's facing upward, and then this one is facing downward. So Brian is hopefully going to be able to get those out without too much cursing. Here we go. That one was easy. Okay, and he's using a trim removal tool to help him with the prying. That one you could actually get your finger on pretty good. Okay, that one came out easy. This black one might be a little hard. Oh, it's just a clip popped out. Now he's got way more room to work. There we go. Okay, So now we're gonna get a 10mm socket and we're gonna zip out all these 10mm bolts. And it wouldn't be bad to have somebody hold it. So I'm filming and holding the thing at the same time. Okay, I think that's the last one. Okay, I'm gonna pass it off to him now. Okay, so we have one clip that we have to free the harness with, so we'll just grab a needle nose pliers and we'll free that. There we go. So there's one final clip holding this harness in, and it attaches to this metal frame that supports the power window relay assembly. So we're going to try to get above there with the needle nose pliers and squeeze the clip to free it. I'm going to support it for him. He first tried a straight nose needle nose pliers, now he's using a bent nose needle nose to get that clip undone. This clip is a little bit of a pain in the butt to get to, but Jordan finally figured out the right orientation with the bent nose needle nose pliers. He'll show you now.
Because the clips are on the side like that. Nice.
So this little sucker right here was the one that was a little bit of a pain in the butt, but now we have that cover totally free out of our way. Instead of dangling and having to maybe tie it up somehow, we're able to get it completely out of our way. So here's what we got. This is the complete mechanism that Brian bought from Toyota. This is the actuator right here, and then this is the bracket it connects to that moves the rods to lock and unlock the rear hatch. This assembly is actually not bolted to the rear hatch door, it is riveted. So the next step is we are going to drill out some rivets so we can get the old one out and then figure out how to detach this from this bracket so we can service the motor inside. And the motor lives right there. You can see the outline of it right there. Before we break out the drill and drill out those rivets so we can get this whole assembly free, there's a few things we have to disconnect. One is this electrical connector here. One is this cable right here, which connects to the pull handle on the back of the rear hatch so you can open the door. We have a rod connection here that's held on with a clip. You disconnect it here. And then there's another maroon colored clip right here we have to disconnect to free this rod. And then after we do that, then we're going to start our drilling. So the release button is right there facing downward. He's going to squeeze it and disconnect that connector. That was easy. Next, he's going to get this rod free. So if he pushes this plastic piece back this way, away from him, he's then going to be able to pull this metal rod out. Okay, and then he should be able to push up and remove that. Okay, that's free. And then the final one is over here. He's got to push the maroon clip away from him and then he can slide the rod out. It's free, this one's free, electrical connector's free. So Jordan is going to do the drilling. He's going to explain the progression of drill bits he's going to use.
So the rod of the rivet is just a little bit bigger than a 7/64 drill bit. So that's what we're going to start with. And if they don't fall out, we'll step up by another 64th. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on the drill bit. That'll help to catch the chips so they don't fall in my eyes.
So you're not going to wear eye protection?
I'm not going to be right under it.
Okay.
Yeah. So the point is just to drill out the center. You want to make sure your drill is nice and sharp. And actually, you know what I'm going to do real quick? I'm going to use some electrical tape to make a stop about a ½ inch down on the drill, just to make sure that when I drill through the rivet, I don't go further than I want to and hit something on the body. And
basically ruin Brian's day when he's got a hole in the back of his truck.
Exactly. He won't thank me for that. So a nice thick piece of tape ought to do the trick. That's a hard rivet.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Or maybe my drill bit's not as sharp as it used to be.
Jeez Louise.
So I stepped up to an 1/8 inch, and I also had some brand new drill bits in that size to make sure it's nice and sharp. Let's see if this rivet will give up.
There it is!
Well, it went through, but it sort of went sideways. The rivet should just be like falling out right now.
Oh.
Thank you, but we might have to step up the size a little bit. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to do that.
Okay.
But now we've got a pilot hole, so it'll be easy. All right, we're going up to 5:30 seconds to see if it'll let go.
Sucker's still fighting.
We'll go up just a little bit more.
Once we can clearly see that the rivet was mostly broken free, what Jordan did is he got in here with a specialty tool that he did a sick mod to. He just took a flat blade screwdriver and put a bend on the tip to make it a little pry bar. So he got underneath the head of the rivet and was able to pop it free. And so now we're gonna do the same with the other ones. We're gonna start small, work our way up to bigger drill bits to where we can get the rivet a little bit loose, and then we're gonna pry them out with this sick mod flat blade screwdriver. When you drill it really straight and with the right size bit, this is what most likely will happen. The rivet will just come right out on the drill bit, and then you don't have to use some type of pry tool to get the head out.
Before drilling out the rivet in this position, I undid the harness right here and kind of tied it all out of the way so the drill can come in here unobstructed.
One thing we did forget before starting to drill the rivets out is we got to get this cable free. So Brian's going to release that. He's got to get that lead head out of there and then slide it out of this little clip here. And then this way, when we drop it down, this isn't going to be hindering us. There it is. Okay. Now we're going to go back to drilling. All right, Jordan drilled out the third and last rivet, and if we are correct, this thing should be able to just pull right out of the rear hatch. So I take that back. There is one connection that now we could hopefully access. It's right here. So since he's holding it up for me, maybe I can get it out myself. The clip on this electrical connection is pretty darn stiff, and Brian finally got it. So we can now pull it free. And then we found that there's one other clip here, right here. He's just using a screwdriver on either side to get the tabs free. Okay, yay! We finally got this sucker out. So now we have to do a little bit of investigating to see how we can free this door lock actuator from this bracket mechanism to where we can crack the case and swap out the motor. So he's gonna remove that JIS or Phillips screw. He's gonna flip it over, and you're gonna see a couple tabs. You're gonna see one right here that he has to free of this bracket, and then there's another one in this bottom corner here that hooks over the bracket. So he should be able to work that free. Okay, got that back one. Okay, now it's free. So now he's gonna flip it over. This hole right here was where that one JIS screw was screwed into. So there is only two screws that hold the lock actuator to the bracket. So he's going to remove those next. So now let's flip it over. So you can see that we can't really free it here because this is kind of like a T-shaped piece of plastic that attaches in this groove. But maybe we can rotate it and get it out. Let's see, can we rotate it enough to get it out? I don't know, want to go that far. Oh, there it goes. Okay, good job, Brian. So we were able to twist it and to free this plastic end from this plastic groove. Now the next thing we want to do, like we did in the other video, is we want to take a utility blade in this crevice and we're going to work it in there, and we're going to hopefully be able to crack the case pretty easily. One thing I would like to see though, can we get this thing out of our way? No, it's a lot of force on. Yeah. Okay, so that feels like quite a bit of force. We're not going to force that and break it. We still should be able to get in here underneath this plastic piece with the utility blade to where we can crack this open. One other thing that we can do just to get this floppy rod out of our way is he can push this clip away this direction, and then he can pull the rod out. Be careful with it because you don't want to crack that. And there it is. Okay, now we're going to break out the utility blade to crack this open, and the honors is going to go to Jordan because he has the steadiest hand. At least we think he does.
So this is just a little breather for the housing that the motor's inside, and it just pops on. So we're just going to take it off and get it out of the way. And I'm going to make sure I've got
fresh blade.
Fresh blade in the utility knife.
Yep, you want a nice, sharp, brand new blade for this. Unless you really want to give yourself more work, then don't.
Little safety tip, your garbage man will thank you. Throw your old razor blades away like this.
You're such a nice guy, Jordan. More people should be like you.
Tell you what, I have soft jaws on the vise, and actually I'll also put this cotton rag on here. So what I'm going to do is clamp gently sort of across these surfaces, not on the connector. It's more proud and it's not as strong. So I'm not really clamping, I'm just holding. Yeah, when I did this last, what I found is replace the blade every once in a while. Don't push too hard and just do it like 50 times. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this housing is actually vibration welded. There's two pieces of plastic. They put the guts in there and they put the top on it, and then they basically just ultrasonically weld. They just go and it welds it.
Jordan has a plethora of knowledge in that head of his. Never heard of vibration welding.
Well, we work with plastics like this.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see, said the blind man.
Yeah. So just a comment, after I did that about 20 times, see it's opening a little bit, I can feel the knife going in a little deeper. So I think, yeah, there you go, see that? So I think I'm through, at least partly through. So I'm gonna head to the other side. We also have to do...
the bottom, huh?
Yeah, do the bottom, so... Ooh.
Yeah, it's a fine line to how much you clamp it. You don't want to clamp it too tight that you actually damage the case, but you want it tight enough to where you can work the knife and it doesn't fall out of there. So
What I'm going to do is I'll support it with my hand from the underside too. Always cut away from yourself, girls and boys.
Unless you want your buddies to start calling you lefty.
You know, when you're doing this, you're putting 20 or 30 pounds of pressure on the knife, and then you see how fast it swings away. I mean, you'd be amazed what that would do to you.
Yeah.
I really probably should have gloves on.
You know what they say, no glove, no love. All right, so you get the idea. He's gonna keep on working that utility blade in the crack of the lock actuator until he can crack both halves.
So I went around and around a few dozen times, and then I have a nice sharp flat screwdriver, and I gave it a gentle pry, and it just sort of cracked. So you really only want to test it with a little bit of pressure, but you see we're starting to get there. See, that really did not take much force at all, which means we were nearly through all of the material. There we go.
It's cracked.
It's cracked.
Nice.
There it be. If you look closely at what you had to do, there's about 1/16 of an inch of this hard plastic that you had to cut through. And if you look, there's even a section right there that you can't get a knife into, and it just has to crack. But that gives you an idea. You see that piece just had to fracture and come out.
Okay.
But so the way this is designed, there's a trough on one side and then a lip on the other side. So they put them together and they ultrasonically weld it.
So now that we got the case cracked, we're gonna pull this little RC motor out, take the little worm gear off, and then we're gonna compare to the replacement RC motors and see if we got the right ones.
Okay.
Now does that worm gear slide off real easy? It doesn't have to be pulled off like with force? Oh, nice. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Now we're going to hold up the replacement to the old one and see what they look like. And that is looking like a match.
Yep, we're looking good.
All right.
Looking good.
And we will link this in the video description. We're going to put the worm gear on there.
Yeah. And then you see you got the contacts. And there should also be a little patch of some sort of tacky stuff to help kind of hold the motor in place. And you find the contacts and it'll push right in. Hold on, let me make sure that I'm lined up right.
A little bit sticky.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be real careful not to push it too hard.
Yeah, break the contacts.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah, once it got lined up right, it dropped right in.
You don't want to use brute force when you're placing this motor onto the contacts. If you feel any significant resistance, you're not properly lined up, and don't push with a lot of force and bend one of those connectors, and then you're going to be bumming. So just take your time, make sure it's lined up nice, and it should slide on with minimal force.
Here's something else we can learn. Look at the plastic piece we were trying to remove. Well, it's connected with a pair of snap fits right here. There's no way we could pull that out without breaking it. So basically what this confirms, we can't remove this part to repair this mechanism. So this is just some silicone paste. It's actually silicone grease. It's a little different than like Sil Glide or something, which is a different, cheaper grease, which to the best of my knowledge is the same sort of grease that they would use in here. So I'm not going to put a ton on here, just a little bit where it seems like it's gone away, and I may freshen up the grease on the contacts. Okay, so we're going to bond the two halves together now that we've replaced the motor and re-greased it. What I like to do is take a little alcohol on a Q-tip and just run it on the edge here, because the knife probably had a little oil on it, and we want to make sure that this surface is nice and clean. So the alcohol will just dissolve any of the oils that might be on there, just wherever you can reach.
You're doing both halves?
Yep, I'm gonna do both halves. And I'm not really taking the time to wipe super carefully, I'm just trying to get the alcohol on there.
Because it'll quickly evaporate, right?
Yes, exactly. Especially if you use 91%. And it kind of bites the plastic a little bit and helps activate the glue. So give that a minute to dry off. I'm going to use this Loctite plastics bonder. In fact, here I have a brand new kit so you can see what it looks like. This is the plastic adhesive system I like to use. It's made by Loctite. It's pretty cheap. You can get it at Home Depot and Amazon. It's usually less than 10 bucks. It has an activator that's a pen. You wipe it onto what you're gluing and you wait for a minute for it to dry off. And then you apply the glue, which is, as far as I can tell, not too different than super glue. So now we're going to put the primer on there so you can see when you wipe it, and you can see it getting wet again, so it's transferring. I'm not going to worry about trying to get into there. Fortunately, this material is clearly a nylon, and nylons work fine with super glue, even without fancy activators. This is just to make sure that we're going to get a real nice positive bond. All right, so set your timer for 60 seconds. All right, I don't have to put a ton on here, and I'm just going to put it on one side. You want to wear gloves because super glue dries fast, and the moisture on your skin will make it set up even faster. We'll get it down into this crack as well here. Looks pretty good. Work quickly before the glue dries. There we go.
You're going to clamp it in the vise?
Yeah, it has to seat firmly. Now we're going to put it back in the vise and clamp on these faces here.
And how long should we let it sit?
I mean, realistically, it's hard in a couple of minutes. We'll give it 5 minutes, okay?
All right, break time. All right, we waited for about 5 minutes for the halves to dry together. Now we're going to put the lock actuator back onto the bracket, and we have to first align this plastic piece with this plastic slot, and then Brian's going to twist it into position. So we're going to get this rod put back in. You can see the orientation. It goes down into this piece, but then it goes down, slopes down, and the opposing side faces up. So this is the right orientation. Just going to slide it in there and then capture it with the green clip. Now we're going to flip the assembly over. We're going to line up these holes in the bracket with the actuator, and the screws actually screw into the plastic of the actuator. Okay, both of those screws are tight. Now we're going to flip it over and we're going to get that black plastic cover back in place. The screw screws in right there. And then he's going to come down with it with the lock actuator at the top, and he's going to line up this hole here with this hole here, but we have to get two clips in place. We got to slide the metal bracket underneath that clip, and then we have to slide it underneath that clip also. Okay, that's snapped in place. That one in there too? Mm-hmm. Now that we got those two clips capturing the bracket, we're going to flip it over and we're going to get that screw installed. Now we're going to bring this back over to the rig. We're going to plug the electrical connector in there, and then we're going to operate the door locks and just make sure that this thing actually works before we put rivets in and put it all back together just to find out our repair didn't work. So we're going to confirm it first, and then we're going to rivet it in place. So Jordan's going to plug the actuator in.
Okay.
In addition to plugging the actuator in, we also have to plug in this and everything else so the computer isn't freaking out because all these things are disconnected. So now we have everything plugged in that needs to be plugged in, and now we're going to work the locks and hopefully see that that locking mechanism works. Yeah.
Yep. Here, actually, we can probably do this, right? We can cheat it. There.
Let's do it again. Yep, it's working. So now we're gonna disconnect all these electrical connectors, and then we're gonna rivet this mechanism back to the rear hatch. Before we get the rivets in, we have to connect up the cable again. So he's gonna slide the lead end in first. And then now he's gonna slide it over the bracket there where it captures the end of the cable. All right, white connector has a plug that plugs into right here. We're gonna get this rod reconnected, so he has to slide it in and then bring the white clip around to capture it. There, it dropped in, and he brought the clip up to capture the rod. Is there anything else that we're forgetting? This one right here. Jordan has one of the holes lined up, and he's going to come in with the rivet and rivet gun. He's going to lock it in place. This is the part number for the rivets from Toyota.
I'm actually going to just start it so that it can still rotate and then get the other rivets started. Okay. A little more.
So we were a little concerned that we might not be able to get the rivet gun in there, but we have just enough room with this particular rivet gun to get it in place.
Oh, crap.
Whew. Eat your Wheaties, man. There it is.
Now that I had two lined up, I could see that one was okay. Oh. All right, back to the first one. Snug him up.
Woo! All right, so you can see we have all the rivets in. We got one here, we've got one back there, and we've got that one. So now we got to get the plate back in position that has that window relay attached to it. While you have the trim piece off and this metal cover off, this is an opportune time to put some sound deadening material inside. Now you can't reach everything unless you really want to go crazy and remove the window and the mechanism that operates the window, but you do have access to some areas, like in this pocket right here near the door lock mechanism, and then over on this side you could take another metal panel off and you could get some sound deadening material in there. And then on the actual covers themselves, you could put some sound deadening material on the underside, and same with the cover that goes over this piece right here. So a little is better than nothing, right? So you might want to spend a little extra time in adding some material in here to make your vehicle a little quieter. So now we're going to get these panels back in place. So we noticed that when we were messing around with these wires, this wire pulled out of this rubber grommet. We just opened it up right here and fit this wire in so it's captured in the grommet. So this rubber plug is oblong and it's going to fit into that oblong hole right there. And then we also have this plastic clip that's going to be captured right in here. So with this oblong plug, what Jordan discovered is if you grab it from the inside and pull up, you could fully seat it to where this thing isn't going to come out. So it's really secured in there now. So Brian's going to make these connections. You can't mix them up because they're color coordinated in different sizes. And then now this big white plug is going to go right into here. When you put this plate up, this actuator for the window is going to be facing down towards you. And then this cutout right here is for these two wiring harnesses right here. You have a couple clips here that Brian got aligned first. And then now he's going to go in with the 10mm bolts, and we're going to get all these started. Jordan and Brian are tag teaming this, getting all those 10mm bolts installed. All the bolts are in, and Jordan's going to do the final tightening with this T-handle right here. While they were tightening up the 10mm bolts, I made this plug connection for the window actuator, and then I made these two connections, then I pushed them up and secured them with the clips. So now we have everything ready to go. We're going to pop the plastic trim piece back into position. He's going to go backwards, and then he's going to slide it to where this lip captures behind this lip, and then he could start getting the clips put back in. It helps to have someone a little taller, or you pull the hatch down a little bit. But Jordan's so tall, he can see it.
There we go. Does that feel like it's...
Needs to slide forward a lot more.
Oh, okay.
So you'll know that you have the rear part of the trim piece in the right position, because when you go look forward, you can see that the red clips are lining up with the hatch holes, and now you can start snapping them into position. And you don't want to force anything. You want to be a little gentle, because if you don't have them properly lined up, you'll break them.
Seems like they're good.
We think we're good. We're gonna clean up the tools out of the back of Brian's truck, and we're gonna close the hatch, and we're just gonna double check that our repair was successful. Finally, Brian is just getting this grab handle back in place with a 10mm bolt, and he's gonna put the plastic piece back in position. Okay, close this sucker. Okay, he's gonna operate the locks, and we're gonna make sure this thing works. Okay, right now the rear hatch is open. He's gonna lock it. Okay, it's obviously locked. He's gonna unlock it. Yep, it works. All right, we are all done with this job. This was a little bit more involved than doing the actuator repair in one of the passenger doors, because you have to do that extra step of drilling out rivets and re-riveting things. And it was a little more complicated with how many electrical connectors you had to disconnect and other things you had to disconnect to access it. But as you saw, if you follow this video and you buy the correct RC motor, you can do a very affordable repair on your rear hatch lock and avoid spending a ton of money either on an OEM locking mechanism, or you get an inferior aftermarket one that maybe doesn't last you as long as you would hope. So with all that said, we thank you for watching Toyota Time with Timmy the Toolman and Sean, and special guests Brian and Jordan. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you have any questions or comments, do that below. Take care. Bye-bye. Sick mods and sick rear hatch door lock actuators repairs. That was a lot to say. Peace out. Happy wrenching. Bye-bye.
Nice, man. Thank you.
Yeah.